Okay, so now we're going to talk about BINSR negotiations, okay? So when you're starting to talk about the BINSR, all right, we'll just write this down here, BINSR negotiations, okay? Now there's a couple things you need to understand, all right? When you're purchasing an actual property, there's a lot of different negotiation that goes along during the whole time, okay? So obviously the first negotiation that you have is with the price, okay? I mean, that's what gets the ball rolling. Either everybody agrees to or doesn't agree to the overall conditions of the price. You know, you got the terms, you got the earnest money deposit, you've got the type of financing, you've got closing dates, you know, but overall, it's all revolving around the terms and the price, okay? The second negotiation that you have, okay, is what I like to call the BINSR negotiation, okay? The BINSR negotiation is just as important, if not more so important, than the original price. And I'll tell you why. The reason why it's more important, okay, is because not only can you affect issues of price, okay, you can affect the price, you can affect the terms, and the closing date, okay, concessions, and any other items that need to go with the property. Okay, so like personal items and things like that, you can put in there, or take out, or so on and so forth. Okay, the BINSR, okay, can fundamentally change the entire offer. So let's say, for example, that you've got a property under contract for $100,000, and initially it looks like a great property. Okay, but you go in, you do your inspections, you find out that there's a whole bunch of things wrong, or the numbers didn't make sense, or something has changed, or whatever. You don't necessarily need to throw the baby out with the bathwater and cancel the whole deal, but you can change all those items in the BINSR itself, okay? Because remember, the BINSR, the Buyer Inspection Notice of Seller Repairs, okay, is to go ahead and provide you the opportunity to check at problems and work through them and maybe fix it, okay? So let's talk about that, all right? Now, let's assume a couple things, all right? Let's say on house A, okay, is $100,000, okay? And house B is similar, okay? And it also is $100,000, all right? Now, buyer one goes into A and says, great, I'll go ahead and I want to buy it at, say, $90,000. Okay? Buyer 2 comes in and says, great, I like it, I'll take it for $100,000. Okay? If you're the seller, all right, what do you think your home is worth? If you're the seller, what do you think your home is worth? You think your home is worth $100,000 or more. Okay? And if a buyer comes in and says, well, I want $90,000, I'll pay you $90,000, do you think that affects what the buyer thinks, the seller thinks the home is worth? No, not at all. The seller still thinks their home is worth $100,000, regardless of what the buyer says, okay? What they think is that they just gave up $10,000. They think that they just wrote out a check for $10,000. That's the way they perceive this, okay? On the other hand, you have buyer B that comes in and says $100,000. Great, sure, I'll take it. Why not? The seller, their expectation is still met. They don't think they lost anything. They don't think they gave up anything. They don't think they wrote any checks. And by and large, I don't know if you can see this on the video, but they have a smiley face. They're happy. Okay, yeah, you can't see that. But anyway, they're smiling, right? They're happy. This guy, he is not so happy, because he's just had to cough up a check for 10 grand. So now they're going to go do their inspections. They found termites, okay? And they found that the kitchen needed GFCIs, ground fault circuit interrupters. Very common, okay? In an older home, it's very common that the home inspector will say, hey, you really ought to get some of these. It's safe so you don't electrocute yourself when you're doing the dishes, okay? Now, this guy found the same thing, okay? Now, if buyer B I'm sorry, buyer A wants to go ahead and get these items fixed, he's going to say to the seller in the BINSR, hey, I would like you to go ahead and fix this stuff. All right? Buyer B, if he says it, it's a lot more palatable. Because the seller, their rationale is, hey, I'm getting $100,000. What's, $500-600? Who cares? Right? It's no big deal. But in this case, now the sale is $90,000. So you had to get the guy to accept to take off 10 grand, and he's got to cough up another, $900 or whatever for repairs. Okay? Now I'm not saying it's impossible. It's certainly doable. It happens all the time. But the problem is, when it comes down to the negotiations itself, you can see from the seller's perspective, okay, how they think and how that can affect you. So if you're offering a lesser price, or, okay, you're asking for closing costs, okay, which is the same thing, remember that it's going to be tougher for you to ask for things. And you need to go ahead and counsel your clients to understand that, look, we already hit him up for $10,000. Okay? Asking for this and this, and a whole laundry list of things other, is going to really make him upset, and he's very likely that he will say no. Okay? May not necessarily kill the deal, but it will certainly increase your chances of getting a no. Okay? Now, on the other hand, this guy has a very good chance of getting this stuff done because he's paid the full price. The agent on the other side, the seller's agent, is saying, hey, look, if they're paying the full price, okay, the logic is that they expect the home a certain way. If they're paying a lesser price, then they take what they get, okay? So think about that when you're negotiating on your BINSR, okay? Now, as far as your BINSR is concerned, when you're asking for things to be done, okay, I'm going to teach you something that's going to save you a couple hours of time, and I hope this is of value, okay? You'll hear people talk a lot of doing, cash instead of repairs, okay? And you'll hear the word in lieu of, okay? In lieu of, okay? You'll hear people say, well, you can do all these repairs, A, B, C, or in lieu of that, you can give us $2,500 towards buyer closing costs in lieu of repairs. Okay? And that's a perfectly acceptable thing to do because a lot of clients, they're like, you know what, I don't want to have to hassle with this stuff. This is ridiculous. I don't want to put in GFCIs. It's a mess. You take care of it. I'll give you money to do it. Okay, you just take care of it after closing. And that's perfectly acceptable. That's okay. But the problem is when you write down on the BINSR $2,500 towards buyer closing costs in lieu of repairs, okay, then the underwriter who is in the mortgage department, excuse me, they see this and they're going to say, whoa, what repairs? Okay, then you've got to provide a list of all the repairs that needed to be done, which opens up an entire can of worms. And in case you haven't sold too many homes lately, okay, remember that financing right now is kind of a bitch, all right? And they find all kinds of reasons why they should deny financing, okay? So when you start saying in lieu of repairs, okay, that could be the problem. So how do you get around it? Well, here's what you do, okay? Very simple. What you do is you have a document, okay, an addendum, and you say, on the addendum, you say, okay, that the seller agrees to credit buyer $2,500 or whatever the amount is that you think it's going to take to cover this, $2,500, okay, towards buyer closing costs and prepaids. Okay? Whenever you ask for closing costs, always ask for prepaids. And the reason why is because prepaids are things like, prepaid insurance, homeowners insurance, homeowners association, whatever, right? It covers all of that. So make sure you ask for them simultaneously. And that's it. Don't mention anything else. Seller agrees to credit the buyer $2,500 towards the buyer closing costs and prepaids. Okay? Then, at the same time, you send over the BINSR. Okay? And you tell the buyer, or you tell the selling agent, look, here's the deal, okay, that the buyer will not request any repairs, okay? They'll take it as is, all right? We'll put it down in the BINSR. Buyer, premises accepted, no repairs requested, okay? If your guy will sign the $2,500 thing, okay? So you send over the addendum first, and then subsequent to that, you send over the clean BINSR. Okay? Now, question is this mortgage fraud? No, it's not mortgage fraud. You're not amplifying a price, you're not changing the price. All you're simply doing is saying, look, we're taking this property as is. Okay? We've looked at things, you know, there's some things that need to be done, but it's not out of the realm of what we can do. And it's minor in nature. And you know what? You just pay $2,500 of our closing costs, and that's that. We won't even worry about it. That's where the conversation stops, okay? That way, when the lender gets a copy of this, okay, they see the BINSR, they see it's clean, it's good for them. They don't care about what repairs there were, because in this case, you've never identified what repairs needed to be done. The appraiser is what tells the bank what repairs are required, okay? Any other repairs are extra, okay? It's important that you remember that. The bank is concerned, okay? Bank is concerned about what the appraiser says needs to be done. If the appraiser says it needs a new roof, then it's going to need a new roof. If the appraiser doesn't say anything about it whatsoever, then there's nothing that needs to be done. As far as the bank is concerned, if the appraiser says it's good, it's good. Okay? Now, whatever happens between the seller, okay, and the buyer are two separate issues. All right? Whatever happens with them as far as fixing GFCIs or carpet stains or whatever, okay? Because think about it in this way. If you said that you needed, you know, the carpet cleaning, let's say you guys thought about it, you said, well, we need the carpet cleaned, we need the carpet, you know, replaced or whatever, right? And you said, in lieu of repairs, okay, and that's the only thing you had in your mind was the repairs for the carpet. You want to replace the carpet. It was going to cost $3,500. And you said, in lieu of repairs, the seller agrees to contribute $3,500 towards buyer closing costs, right? The underwriter looks at this and says, wait a minute, what repairs? The only repairs your buyer was ever concerned about was the carpet. The whole discussion was about the carpet. That was it, nothing more. Okay? But now because you wrote up this bad BINSR, now you have all these other questions about all these other items, okay, which have nothing to do with what the appraiser said. If the appraiser said that the house was okay, he didn't have any problem with the carpet, now you've got all these extra problems and questions and what's this and what's that. And ultimately, it may not affect what the underwriter says, but it does take a lot of time going around and cleaning things up and changing things and moving this and moving that and disclosing, you know, to this and that and all. It's a hassle, okay? So as long as it's nothing that's major, as long as it's nothing that's catastrophic, okay, then using the addendum method is certainly acceptable, okay? Saying that the buyer agrees to go ahead and accept, you know, the seller agrees to go ahead and pay $2,500 towards their closing costs or whatever, prepaids or so on and so forth. And then in return, you give them a clean BINSR and everybody is a winner, okay? So that's how you do that. Now, the last thing I want to tell you about BINSR negotiation, okay, is that if you're the seller, all right, and somebody's asking for things to be done, okay, it is perfectly acceptable to raise the sales price. Okay? So if they're asking for, let's say your home's $100,000, okay? And they're asking for you to put on a brand new roof, okay? Well, there's no reason, once you've made a capital improvement, why is it then that the house is worth $100,000? So it's not. Now it's worth $105,000, okay? Because it has a brand new roof. It has a capital improvement. Now, as far as the sales thing goes, all homes need roofs, right? But as far as the negotiation is concerned with your buyer's agent, you just simply tell them, hey, look, you know what, we put on a brand new roof, you know, it's going to be 105. You know, the sales price instead of 100, now it's 105. You want us to put on a roof, it's going to be 105, okay? Or whatever the amount is to put on the roof. That's totally fine. The other thing you can do, okay, is just do an overall price reduction, okay? You just say overall price, instead of 100,000, now it's 95,000 because we needed to put on a roof. We didn't know that before. Now the price is now adjusted to 95,000, okay? So the price can go down. You can do closing costs and prepaids. Okay, closing costs cannot exceed, if I'm not mistaken, on most financing 3%. Okay, it may be 3.5%, depending on when you see this, but 3% is, to my knowledge, about the best you can do. Okay. As far as closing dates are concerned, you can extend or shorten or extend the closing dates. Okay, you can ask for practically anything. BINSRs are a great place to ask for almost anything. So that's how you go ahead and negotiate a BINSR. For more specific stuff during your specific instruction, if you're having trouble with a BINSR or something like that, let me know and I'll be happy to help walk you through it and we'll get you some good ideas. Until then, great selling. Thanks for watching and have a powerful selling day. Take care.